Britons. I'm not going to go for a whole history of Britain's packaging. That's obviously a major effort. I stole this photo from James. That's some of the early packaging. Stole that from James. Stole that from James. I wasn't even sure that was a Britain's one. I couldn't remember if that
yes,
was.
It is. It's
early.
Yeah, early.
When we were still getting on with the Germans.
That's right. Then, of course, I'm making a big skip now to the Regiments of All Nations type series. I never actually saw any of those with soldiers in it. These aren't the soldiers that were in that, of course, at all.
I think if James is, I think James told me this, the French Foreign Legion box that you showed was the last of, so post Fred Wistock, which I think Andrew, you might tell me, did he stop doing illustrations in about 1924, something like that?
Yeah, I'm not an expert on that at all, but yeah.
But they came out with a beautiful series of very detailed illustrated labels. Now that French Foreign Legion one was released in about 1938-39, and it's quite possibly the very last illustrated box label that they did. And for me, it's a high point. I mean, I've got one again, literally just next to me. It's my favorite box. It's just so dynamic.
Yeah. Then they skipped to those ones.
Cellophane horrors.
Yeah. Cellophane horrors. You fellas from England might get a laugh out of this. These particular soldiers, they were never in a Britain's catalog, never offered to Britain's dealers, never sold anywhere except here in Ontario, Canada, at Old Fort Henry.
All right.
Old Fort Henry commissioned the entire run of them. They were, I've got there's two different sets of them. I came across several of them. I've actually still got one of each set for sale. But then of course, yes, these the famous limited edition series boxes. Once again, a nice presentation, but very limited too, to only 7,000 of your closest friends. Unfortunately, 7,000 was enough for every man, woman, and child on the planet that wanted one. The Rorke's Drift box, they started doing nice custom artwork on those ones. That's the inside of it. Well, that's the soldier part. And then the actual Rorke's Drift was underneath. Yeah. They did a series of those types of boxes. That's the hospital box part. Monster boxes, though, these ones.
How about that bombed London Street? That's a massive. That's
there it is.
I've got I think the biggest box was the Joust. The medieval Joust is virtually a coffee table.
It's bigger than that. Holy smokes!
Yeah. Then there's this whole series there when they did this type of packaging, which in a way was still good because you could just open the box up and you had a presentation at least. Like I say, I'm not doing a history really of Britain's packaging. Then of course, when these guys took over, it all went to hell. The first gear boxes, holy geez, eh? Not much ingenuity there. They took a stab at it with their plastic boxes too. But once again, they've really come around now. I think this new generation of packaging for Britons is a winner. The big boys. I stole this from James too. This is an old Rica, yeah. King and Country. That's one of the not the very first boxes, but the original. That's set number 23 of 1,000. Yeah. Then they've went upscale to this type of box. This is kind of where they've gone. The Flats figures, of course, out of Germany. They just used generic boxes, and they actually hand wrote what was in the box. That's the same Mignon boxes. Imperial, they used basically the same boxes, slap on the generic label, and the little end label told you what you really get. All the Queen's Men, nice, same sort of concept. Trophy went through a series of different boxes.
Yeah.
But basically all with the same concept, the same generic boxes, a generic label, but the label at the side differentiate. Del Prado with their wonderful packaging protects the hell out of their figures, but yeah, doesn't do. Tradition, of course, the thing about Tradition, that the same red box, just with a label on the end. That's what makes them. Small and cottage manufacturers. I included this one again because it's you know, they didn't produce a lot of stuff, not a big company. This is the only, oh no, that's not true. I've seen one other product from the company. It's called On Parade. Battle of Waterloo chess set. You get the British and the French.
Straight up, so straight out the Prince August catalogue.
Absolutely, but they're the Prince August figures. Absolutely, yeah. Hawker, William Hawker. Generic boxes, really unusual figures. He's getting out of the business now. He's at the stage now where he's only selling off existing inventory. He's finishing up with the last custom orders and not taking any more orders, apparently. Beautiful stuff, though. I love the Hawker stuff. I picked up this one, which is controversial, the slave auction, it's called. Yeah.
Has anyone bought the Donald Trump series?
I saw it, but no, I didn't buy it.
It's satire in lead form. It's amazing. It's like Hogarth has made toy soldiers. I love them.
Yeah. Phoenix miniatures. These are I want to say 30 millimeter. No, 25, I guess. 20. No, they are. It's got to be 30 miniature. Yeah. There's a Britain's figure by comparison. Boys of the Old Brigade. Once again, fairly generic boxes. Spirit of the Empire. These are the guys that ended up, well, when they started out, they were a little mom and pop operation. They used a cardboard box out of Napanee here in Canada. The generic label. That's the part of the band that was in it. Then they sold out to D'Artagnan in Quebec here, and D'Artagnan was the one that made the wooden boxes and everything and expanded the series. Royal Express. This is the only box I've ever seen of Royal Express. Have you guys ever seen any other Royal Express?
Never heard of them.
Yeah. Actually, this is a gorgeous set. It's Queen Victoria presenting the Bible. I should have taken a picture of the actual figures, but it was supposed to be more about packaging. Shenandoah miniatures, once again, out of Australia. Never saw anything beyond the one package. Never heard of these guys either, Regiment Toy Soldiers, but they are the most beautifully painted gloss soldiers I have ever seen. Anybody ever heard of Regiment Soldiers? No.
They did a good job on them, though.
What's that?
They did a really nice job. Like the detail on them is really nice, but even like the small stuff, like the sword is clipped in like it would be. Like they pay a lot of attention to the detail.
The detail, yeah. Under Two Flags. Now, I always thought Under Two Flags was just a store.
No, he commissioned his own ranges. I can't remember if it was Blenheim or Marlborough he got to make his figures.
Yeah.
I think there's some Scroby involvement there.
Oh, yeah. So these are just, more obscure little manufacturers. Yeah, the Grant's Whiskey series, yeah. Still, there's people still looking for those. This was a nice, this is Green's Collectibles of the United States. This is where I bought this from. And they just put it's from a postcard, and they just put a picture of the postcard. Beautiful little set, but there's also an English, is it Pickelholb Miniatures? But that doesn't sound English, but there is an English manufacturer actually makes this set.
I can't remember. I can't remember if they're Australian, because John O'Brien had a relationship with Pickelholm.
Yes, that's it. Because in the explanation about Green's Collectibles, the United States, it explained an Australian collection. So yeah. Pickelholb must be out of Australia. That's
interestingly, Trophy Miniatures took the same source material and did their own set, which is, well, very much what you see, except in the trophy style. So
yeah,
two bites at the apple.
Yeah, that's right. Labels. This is the first time I actually saw a Labelle box. Labelle's was just here in Canada.
Royal York Hotel.
Yeah. So I'm not sure if that's actually, I'm thinking somebody.
I think somebody made that label, maybe.
That was selling it, or at an auction, took a photograph and made that label and put it. I don't.
Yeah, because it has the price on it.
Yes, I know. It's yeah. I was quite happy to find this Mars Limited. I'd never heard of them at all. This is actually an SS band, and I thought, well, this is just a small little manufacturer, but inside the box there was a catalog of their series, and there were literally hundreds of them. Out of Houston, Texas.
And they for anyone that's unfamiliar, when they were released, it was kind of the heyday of the glossy toy soldiers, and they were expensive.
Yeah,
like they were they were seriously expensive for the time, and they're not 54 millimeter; they're closer to 52 or 50.
Yes, yeah, they're petite. Yes, yeah. But I was just shocked at the catalog insert sheet that they put in it of just so many different units and stuff. Ted Toy, this is Ted Denton's. That's his last name.
Ted Denton's.
Ted Denton's. He's now with Britons, but he's not making his own soldiers, I don't think, anymore. But he still has some.
Yes, he is.
Is he still making some?
Yep. Yeah, no. He's the operations manager at Britton's, but no.
Yeah. So he came out with because I picked a set up off of eBay this last year, a set of his he put them out in wooden boxes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, of a Civil War like Iron Brigade set that he did in a wooden box style.
Yeah. This is a scale link, which does 54 millimeter kits, well, 1/32 kits, but they use generic type boxes. Plastic.
Just go back, if you don't mind, just that illustration. So you can just see the signature there between the wheel and the ammunition box. That's John Piper. So John Piper was the originator of Scale Link, and his range has its foundations. He was commissioned to make some dioramas for the National Army Museum, which I suspect, in the way of many museums now, put all their models in storage and replace it with child play centres and cafes. Not that I'm bitter. So all those illustrations were hand drawn by him. So the catalogue for Scale Link is a beautiful thing. I mean, it's just a photocopied sheets, but is a full size illustration of a 60-pounder, a Mark IV tank. The cover of it was a 9.2-inch howitzer, which he never actually made, but it makes a really nice cover.
Oh, wow!
If you got individual kits, they were quite clever. There was a little polythene bag which had all the figures in, but then it was kind of wrapped almost like a loop of card which felt into itself. And each nation had its own color, So blue, two different shades of blue for Belgian and French. There's a brown for the Americans, green for the British. And
wow.
and then lots of information. I mean, it really was a work of graphic art. I mean, if you're ever interested, I have a huge number of those kits, and I'll show you it. But you'd appreciate the draftsmanship. It's just very, very stylish. They only did kits really. He was actually based about 2 miles from where I'm sitting at the moment, over in Twickenham. The address you see there is when it was bought out by another company who is actually trying to sell the business for many tens of thousands of pounds. But yes, it's just really nice stuff. They issued them in gloss, ready painted in boxes under the banner March Past. And if you ever got a price list from MKL in London, who used to operate just outside the Guards Museum, you can find March Past. So they took a very small sample of the range. I think there's about 20 sets in all. But all of them have that model quality. What you're seeing in the bottom left, a little brass etch. All the, even a standard Tommy with his rifle, the sling on his rifle would be an etched brass component, and the belt buckles would be etched brass. You could add a brass belt buckle after you painted the figure. They were very much ahead of their time. They're very expensive though. As a kit, unpainted, 54mm. £12. Now I don't know what that translates into Canadian dollars, but it's not a cheap way of collecting toy soldiers, which is probably why John Eden put them in a mold and copied them for everybody. So
I've got about I don't know, about 20 sets of different scale link ones. I'm going to bring them to On Parade in June for sale.
The Belgians are particularly good. I've got the dog cart machine guns, which I'm very much looking forward to swearing at, because he's done the bicycle wheels, which is essentially what they are on the dog carts. He's done them as acid edge frets in brass, and they're so fine. It's like a spider's web. I'm terrified of cutting him off the sprue. It's going to be a delight. We've done a show and tell topic of catalogs, and we'll have to revisit that sometime too. That's one of my passions, is collecting old catalogs and sales sheets from all these companies. Plastics and play sets. That's a very obscure line. Plastic models. That's the cover of the box. Inside the box, they just little figure sheet to put it together. Full color sheet for coloring, so it's kind of nice presentation. Once again, I did these just for the same reason as Eric, because they were kind of very generic and identifiable type packaging. Armies in plastic, they took the approach of doing drawing on the outside and a little window to see what the figures look like. I just found out from Scott Dummett that all the new Armies in plastic figures are not being released in boxes anymore. They're all in bags with a header card. That's just a nice little model kit. Play sets, Rat Patrol. I actually had this when I was younger. It was a 1-inch soldiers Rat Patrol play set. There's Fort Apache. That's not the Marks one. There's a more modern version of a Marks play set. I'm not going to go through all Marks play sets, of course. This was kind of a nice presentation and a little bit different. Presidents of the United States. You open it up and there's you get all the presidents. And of course, they were also available as in a painted series. And they were also available as little 25mm figures. I have a 25mm set of U.S. presidents, the exact same molds. It's very, very egalitarian of the Americans to make all their presidents exactly the same height.
Well, there's one. Is that Taft or somebody? No, a few of them look a bit portly, but more modern play sets. Of course, play sets, their big thing is always got to have the beautiful artwork on the front and hopefully on the back, a real photo to show you what you're actually getting. Zvezda did a whole series of once again for 1-inch figures, but play sets. I came across this one. I'd never ever seen one before, and everybody I show it to, they've never heard of it, never seen it. What's spectacular about this in my mind is it's made in Canada. Of course, that wouldn't mean much to you guys, but it's yeah. So the figure there, it's not quite a copy of the Mark's ones. Well, maybe it is. Yeah, it looks like yeah, I don't even know where the figures came from. The tents are really neat. Yeah. Different
are we
sets.
apologizing for anything?
Yeah, that's right. We shouldn't apologize. Yeah. Yeah. Different play sets, Forces of Valor. Mark's, this was a 12-inch knight, but they kind of made it into a play set format. It's
a 12-inch knight. Is that why it's called a blue knight? Is it?
Yeah, yeah. It's a very unwieldy package and everything. The hinge is actually on the left. It opens up into it's very flimsy. But this was here in Canada. This was a very popular series. You saw these little vehicles everywhere, and I was lucky to get. I've actually been able to pick up 2 of the original packages. Yeah, over the years. Yeah. Different 1-inch figure play sets, hard plastic. Then you're into the modern Italieri play sets. Play sets. These are all for 1-inch type figures. Yeah. And that's it. That's it for play sets. And I think I'm going to stop there.